Good morning. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Buffalo on this beautiful, and it will be beautiful later on, first Sunday of September. We celebrate the bounty of our region's harvest and our abundant love and positive regard for all who enter here, our beloved church, our beloved community, our city, and our home. Welcome to newcomers. We are so glad that you found us, and welcome to those who have been here a few times, maybe still sampling and looking for that spiritual home. We hope you will become part of our vibrant community. And welcome to all who are here every Sunday through thick and thin, who are the lifeblood of our church. Welcome, welcome. Welcome also to our participants remotely on Zoom. Let's give them a wave. Hi, everybody. Thanks for being here. I am Eve Holberg, your worship associate this splendid morning. I am joined by Doug Sherman, our associate worship associate, if there is such a thing. And today we are so excited to welcome State Senator Sean Ryan to our Sunday celebration. Senator Ryan was elected to the New York State Senate in 2020, having previously served in the State Assembly. He proudly grew up in Lackawanna and graduated from SUNY College at Fredonia and the Brooklyn Law School. His broad legal experience includes work for Neighborhood Legal Services, a private law practice in collaboration with the Learning Disabilities Association of Western New York, and on the rights of disabled students and the Legal Aid Bureau of Buffalo. As an elected official, Senator Ryan has championed many different issues, including fair economy for all, protecting taxpayer rights and dollars, lower taxes for middle-class families and small businesses, increased investment in education, waterfront development, neighborhood redevelopment, clean air, water, and environmental protection. Sean and his family reside here in the city of Buffalo. Welcome, Senator Ryan. Thank you for being with us today. I have a very few announcements, First of all, we thank you for your continued patience with our policy of masking and distancing inside our building. Our commitment to safe practices protects us all, and we are grateful for your continued commitment to inclusivity, hospitality, and justice. Our fellowship time takes place outside in our garden. You can unmask or mask there, depending on your level of comfort. Everyone, of course, is welcome to a multi-generational bring your own picnic in the garden every Sunday, 12:30 to 2:30. Masks on, please, except when seated on your blanket and eating. Every child must be accompanied by at least one parent or guardian. Next week is Water Communion Sunday. This is our annual ingathering, the beginning of our church year. Come on in, bring a little water from your travels during the summer to add to our communion bucket. And no, we don't drink it, so don't worry about that. Get involved with RE. Our acting religious education director, Reverend Lisa Peterangelo, asks you to stop by the table in the fellowship hall, meet her, say hi, find out how you can get involved. There are lots of different ways to get involved in our RE program. We have such a great lineup coming this year, and I know you want to get involved. And now I'd like to ask Martha Malkowitz has an announcement. Martha?
Good morning, everybody. I am I should let you all say, let's try it again. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Sorry for interrupting that. That was so nice. So I am the president of the UUCB Board of Trustees and have had the honor of serving on the board for the past 3 years. And as many of you know, our church is going through a lot of challenging times right now, and people have a lot of questions that they would like answered. So the board has set up 2 town hall meetings in which we invite everyone to come, ask your questions, and we will answer them as openly and honestly as we can. The 2 meetings are set for Saturday, September 11th at 2, that's next Saturday, and the following Monday at 7 o'clock. We will meet here in the sanctuary, but we will also be on Zoom. So everybody's questions, whether you're on Zoom or here in the sanctuary, we will answer them, and hopefully it will be a wonderful time where we show each other how we love and care for one another. We'll see you all. I hope to see all of you, and all of you on Zoom. Please join us for the town hall meetings. Thank you.
Quick question, is that the regular worship Zoom address that we'll be using? Okay, so use the same address that you used to log in for worship.
Good morning. Take a deep breath. This is our call to worship. We Summon Ourselves by Gordon B. McKeeman. We summon ourselves from the demands and delights of the daily round, from the dirty dishes and unwaxed floors, from unmowed grass and untrimmed bushes, from all incompletenesses and not yet startednesses, from the unholy and the unresolved. We summon ourselves to attend to our vision of peace and justice, of cleanliness and health, of delight and devotion, of the lovely and the holy, of who we are and what we can do. We summon the power of tradition and the exhilaration of newness, the wisdom of the ages and the knowing of the very young. We summon beauty, eloquence, poetry, and music to be the bearers of our dreams. We would open our eyes, our ears, our minds, our hearts to the amplest dimensions of life. We rejoice in manifold promises and possibilities. Now, if you all stand in body or spirit as we light our chalice, you'll find the opening words in your order of service. We gather in loving community, inspiring one another to transform ourselves to create a more just and compassionate world.
There's something in the middle of the very small village that you wouldn't expect. It was a castle. In fact, it was the last castle. Oh, there'd been other castles, but they'd been torn down and fallen down and destroyed until there was just one left. No one knew why. A guard stood in the castle, in the tower, looking down at the townspeople as they silently moved by on the street. And then there was Ib. Ib passed the castle every day on her way to school, and she'd stop and look up and see the guard up there standing stone still. She'd pick up a pebble and throw it in the moat. Blunk. Because nobody ever came out and nobody was ever invited in, the townspeople had to sort of guess what was going on in there based on what they heard as they passed by in the street. Monsters, said Miss Wicks. Snap, snap, snap. Giants, said Alex. Thud, thud, thud. Snakes, said Grandpa. Ib thought, well, maybe it is something terrible, but is it possible it's something else? Blunk. One day, Ib was going by and she looked up. No guard. She had an idea. She floated across the moat. She went up to the door with all the strength she had. She knocked on the door. Ib ran as fast as she could until she was sitting at her desk at school, her heart pounding, out of breath and scared. She didn't tell anybody what had happened. Soon, an envelope arrived for Ib. It was an invitation. Your presence is requested at the front gate of the castle on Sunday at noon. Everybody told her not to go. Monsters, said Miss Wicks. Giants, said Alex. Snakes, said Grandpa. Well, maybe it is something terrible, Ib thought, but is it possible it's something different? On Sunday at noon, she's standing, trembling. The drawbridge started to come down with a thunk. And then Ib did something no other townsperson had ever done. She walked into the castle. Welcome, said a friendly voice. I'm the last one. May I show you around? It was the guard. He'd taken off his helmet. He was a lot older than Ib expected. But for the rest of the day, they explored every corner of the castle. They went and pruned and trimmed the giant hedges that had been shaped into the shape of dinosaurs and monsters. They shook the boughs of the giant apple trees so the fruit came thud, thud, thud down. They watered the lawn, the great lawn outside the palace. So there were giants and there were monsters, but there weren't any snakes. Well, thank heavens for that. At the end of the day, they found themselves right back where they'd started. Why now? Said Ib. Well, this is the last castle, and I'm the last one, and someday I'll be gone, said William. That was his name, was William. I'm looking for someone to replace me, but it's got to be somebody who's curious. Can you help me? Ib thought about William all alone there in the castle, and her friends and family outside. Yes, she said. Yes, but I have a request. In the middle of a very small town stood the last castle. Sometimes someone came out, and everybody was invited in.
Each week, our congregation takes a good portion of our Sunday morning offering and gives it away to a social justice cause outside our church walls. This month, as we embrace the possibilities, we can help expand the good work of the Erie County Restorative Justice Coalition as it promotes social and racial justice by partnering with others to create environments where children, youth, and adults can live, learn, work, play, and thrive. If you are giving from home, you can use PayPal by going to our website, www.buffalouu.org, and clicking on the blue Donate button. Or you can send a check by mail to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Buffalo, 695 Elmwood Avenue, Buffalo, New York, 14222. You can also arrange a regular automatic deposit with your bank. If you are giving from here, just greet the friendly neighborhood ushers coming up the aisles. If yours is a gift to our Share the Plate ministry, please write SHARE on the memo line, and it will be shared between the County Restorative Justice Coalition and the church operating budget. If yours is a welcome gift to our congregation, please write Pledge 2021 on the memo line. Either way, please write UUCB on the important line, and we'll do the bookkeeping. By sharing our blessings, we bring abundance to the world.
I think many of you may know the song I'm going to do, High Hopes, which won the Best Song in the 1959 Academy Awards. Many of you may be tempted to join in on the familiar refrain, and if you do, submit to temptation. I'd be glad to hear your voices. Next time you're found with your chin on the ground, there's a lot to be learned, so look around. Just what makes that little old ant think he'll move that rubber tree plant? Anyone knows an ant can't move a rubber tree plant, but he's got high hopes. He's got high hopes. He's got high apple pie in the sky hopes. So anytime you're getting low, instead of letting go, just remember that. And oops, there goes another rubber tree plant. Oops, there goes another rubber tree plant. When troubles call and your back's to the wall, there's a lot to be learned. That wall could fall. Once there was a silly old ram, thought he'd punch a hole in a dam. No one could make that ram scram. He kept butting that dam because he had high hopes. He had high hopes. He had high apple pie in the sky hopes. So anytime you're of feeling bad, instead of feeling sad, just remember that ram. Oops, there goes a billion kilowatt dam. Oops, there goes a billion kilowatt dam. So keep those high hopes, keep those high hopes, keep those high apple pie in the sky hopes. Our problem's just a toy balloon, they'll be bursting soon, they're just bound to go pop. Oops, there goes another problem, kerplop. Oops, there goes another problem, kerplop, kerplop.
This morning's reading is My Symphony by William Henry Channing. To live content with small means, to seek elegance rather than luxury, and refinement rather than fashion, to be worthy, not respectable, and wealthy, not rich, to study hard, think quietly, talk gently, act frankly, to listen to stars, birds, babes, and sages with open heart, to bear all cheerfully, to do all bravely, await occasions, hurry never. In a word, to let the spiritual unbidden and unconscious grow up through the common, this is to be my symphony.
Take my mask off. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for welcoming me here today. I see many faces I recognize, former neighbors, current neighbors, neighbors of relatives. So it's great to be here today. Thank you, Reverend Joan, Eve, Doug. Wonderful music. It's such a uplifting, optimistic place to be. It's great to be here at this church. Sometimes we forget about the historic nature of this church and what you mean to the community and what you've meant to the community over the generations. So, thinking back to draft resistance, nuclear disarmament, it seems whatever happens, this hub on Elmwood Avenue is always making us think a little bit differently, but also providing sanctuary for those amongst us who do think differently. And in addition to the worship space, the whole greater community uses your space for meeting spaces, whether it's hosting events or community meetings. So I wouldn't underestimate your impact on the community in the different ways. So I was asked to come to talk about the theme of embracing possibilities, but I also see that there might be another theme of expanding opportunities. Let's see if we can merge them together. So this nature of embracing possibilities, I think that really defines what's been happening in Buffalo for the last decade. It seems that there's just been a change in Buffalo. Some days I can't put my finger on what it is. I know it's not one thing, but it's many things. But certainly the one thing I think we have changed is we now embrace possibilities. Before we couldn't see possibilities. Over the last 4 decades, our region has changed significantly. I was raised primarily in Lackawanna. I'll tell you a little bit about my background, and it helps inform how I see the world. My dad was a firefighter. My mother was a public school teacher. Lackawanna was a great, diverse community. It was a real example of how people can live together as a melting pot. Of course, black, white, Hispanic, and then you get into all the differences in the white community, right? So we were always very proud in Lackawanna to have on one side of the street a Serbian church, and on the other side of the street a Croatian church. And every year those churches came together for joint activities. And years later, when civil war engrossed both their nations, those churches continued to work together. But we all know that growing up, things were different than they are today. So when I was a kid, growing up in a very blue-collar environment, we were just taught hard work, hard work, hard work. If you do that, you'll have a spot. Now, we know in history that really wasn't open to everybody, right? So as a white young man, I was told, work hard, you'll have a spot. But I know that other kids I went to high school with who weren't white, they didn't have the same spots in the hard work. And we're all embracing that and trying to figure out what it means as we progress forward as Buffalo, but also as a nation. But during my senior year in high school, this whole idea of what it meant to fit into our society and our economy crumbled with Bethlehem Steel closing. And Bethlehem Steel is really it's a metaphor for the entire national and regional economy in how it changed. Industrial economy is still a big part of Western New York economy, but back then it was this big, and the rest of the economy was that big. It's since flattened out and changed a bit, but that whole idea of all you have to do is work hard and there'll be a spot for you, that disappeared. So thousands lost their jobs. Family and friends were displaced. The Buffalo diaspora became a thing. You used to be Buffalonians weren't spread all over North America. Well, after the early 80s, they became spread all over North America. But people had this sense that there was no place for them, and it seemed to be very hard to embrace possibilities. There was no replacement plan for the industrial economy that we decided to outsource. So for generations in Western New York, there was sort of a doom and gloom, a heartache. We had more people leaving here than we had coming in. We didn't know how to identify ourselves. What was our identity? If our previous identity was of sort of a hard-knuckle, sharp-elbowed place where we did the hard work, but for that hard work, we had a roof over our heads, we were able to take vacations, we had health insurance, we had dental, we sort of knew what to do with ourselves. But after that, I think we wandered for a while. We had a struggle to get back on our feet, but we also had a struggle to figure out who the heck we are. And we had a hard time. But during that time period, a few things sort of happened in my thinking. My thinking changed. It was, holy cow, you better change your life identity, because if you're 18 and you thought an industrial economy is waiting for you, you better switch it up. And I was able to switch it up, but I have friends and neighbors who weren't able to switch it up. And years go on, and we're in much different spots in the economy now and where we live in society. But I was left with this sense of unfairness, left with a sense of betrayal, of unjustness, of how do you tell a whole portion of America who did what they were supposed to do that those rules no longer apply, but also we have no replacement plan for you. And it was a tough time, but for me, it made me realize the unjustness that exists in our society. And I embraced the notion of using my law degree to work for the poor, work for the dispossessed, to keep people in their housing, to work for disabled children, to work to try to make communities that have been left behind stronger. But also, as we progressed, we all started thinking differently. We've embraced this new idea of our new identity. We're still forming that identity. We still really don't know what we are, but we do know that we have possibilities. We now know that excellence is obtainable to us. For 80s, 90s, the early aughts, we were sort of like, well, that's good enough. It's Buffalo. So we now want things that are A+. We recognize in ourselves that we deserve great things in our communities. Why can't we have a world-class education system for primary school kids? Why do we have to have neighborhoods in Buffalo that look like they're about to be knocked down? Why do we accept substandard housing conditions for certain people in our society? We also looked at our economy and how do we want to change that economy. But as part of this whole process that I think really accelerated in the last decade is we really looked at ourselves and we started feeling better about ourselves. We know we have great architecture. We know we have great people. We know we have a tremendous history, before the Erie Canal, the War of 1812, where we fit. So we've really embraced, I think, what's best about ourselves. We dusted ourselves off. We finally are freeing ourselves from the ghosts of Bethlehem Steel, and we started seeing ourselves differently. We have a thriving medical campus, which provides jobs that people can live on, family-sustaining jobs. It's an area that's growing. We have the Northland campus, where workers, young and old, can go and get training for the jobs of tomorrow, not the jobs of today. We now have our own tech companies, ACV Auctions. I barely know what they do, but boy, I know they're suddenly worth over $1 billion, and it's good to have that as part of our economy. So for a while, we could not imagine possibilities. We couldn't imagine embracing possibilities, but now we look at our own arts and culturals and say, holy cow, that was something we should have felt great about. Vibrant theater scene, vibrant spoken arts theme, vibrant art museums, and our own Albright Knox is going under a major renovation. And also, we in some ways missed the building of the Birchfield. Building of the Birchfield Museum was one of the only museums built in America during that time period. You've seen other museums in the major cities get renovations, but a brand new museum really was, I think, an inkling of the optimism that Buffalonians started showing and started the confidence that we had in ourselves. The Martin House, beautiful place. We all love it. Niagara Falls, we've redone the state parks. It looks so different on the campus of Niagara Falls. The Jamestown Comedy Center, I've not been there, but I heard it's really good. But before, nobody would have thought about ever investing a dime of public money in Jamestown, New York. And Jamestown is really a microcosm of Buffalo, and the Bethlehem Steel story holds through to there. So with all these great things that we're now embracing, we're starting to open ourselves up to the world and say, we think these things are good, we know these things are good, and heck, maybe you want to come see it too. So we have the advent of a tourist economy in Buffalo, and no longer do Buffalonians sort of, when they meet people in the airport to say where you're from, they say Buffalo. Now they say, I'm from Buffalo, and it's great. You can come, but keep it a little bit quiet, because we kind of want to keep the way we are now. But as I say, it's not just the environment, it's not just the economy, how we view ourselves. We also interact differently with the environment. We recognize that our industrial legacy left behind a really bad environmental legacy, but we're not ignoring it anymore. We're not burying it Love Canal style. We're cleaning up the Tonawanda Coke plant. We're cleaning up the Bethlehem Steel site. And, as somebody who's very proud to have been raised in Lackawanna, you look at sort of from an economic history of how long our industrial economy really was kicking. And, for sure, from post-war until the mid-'80s, not a very long period of time. Maybe give it back to World War I to the mid-'80s. But look at now the amount of time that steel plant's been closed. We're going on 40 years. So we're getting almost to the tipping point where we've been longer without than we have with. But the dollars that we have to now spend to clean up our industrial legacy, which turns out to be a toxic legacy. But luckily, we're getting help from all of America to do that. So when we cleaned up our Buffalo River, the whole country pitched in, and I could say the federal government, but really, what is the federal government? But really a representative of all of us. So 300 million Americans helped pitch in. We recognize that our industrial cities help build the nation, but now that we all need a little bit of help, and so we're happy to bring in some federal money to clean up the Buffalo River. We are cleaning up the other sites I mentioned. There's several toxic sites around Western New York that we're cleaning up. But it's all because now we look at the environment differently, right? We look at our rivers and our Great Lakes as something we should cherish and not something that we should use as a dumping ground. We still have work to do. If anyone's ever taken a stroll around Delaware Park and Hoyt Lake, there's one end of it that really smells. And we've sort of accepted that as normal, but it's not normal. It should not smell that way. So we need to continue to clean that up as just one more representation of how, as we're emerging as a new Buffalo, we're recognizing some of the things that we did wrong in the past to nature, and we're endeavoring to fix that. And the most outward sign, I would say, of Buffalo embracing itself differently is a walk down to Canal Side. There was forever, it was, okay, that's just what it is down there. And what it is sort of nothing. When I was a very small child, I lived in the Marine Drive apartments, and my mom has pictures of us on lounge chairs surrounded by deserted wharfs. It's the strangest picture, but she said it was so nice to sit down there, even though it was not really pretty to look at. It still allowed you to come in some contact with the water. But it was once abandoned, it was once desolate, it was once forgotten. But now it's a great activity. And what I note often when I go down to Canal Side is not just how it looks and watching people enjoy themselves, but you look at who's at Canal Side. And Canal Side is a diverse place, you know, in a city that has many psychological boundaries about what race can go where and sort of who controls an area. Canal Side appears to be an area that's been embraced by all Buffalonians, regardless of their income, regardless of their race. So it's a great manifestation, I think, of the new Buffalo, where we don't have these invisible barriers of Main Street and Jefferson in Richmond Avenue. So we like to think that that is the hope for our future, but we're only able to embrace these hopes looking forward because we think about ourselves differently. And I really like how we're thinking of ourselves differently, and we're embracing the future with open arms as opposed to looking to the past to guide us. I'm sorry, we look at the past to guide us as opposed to saying we want the past back in its old format. So we're looking into the future, and we, for the first time, I think in over 40 years, we've grown as a city. We should all give ourselves a big pat on the back for that. It's a small growth, but my gosh, I will take it. We grew more than our sister and brother cities. We grew more than Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse, Cleveland, Pittsburgh. So we're doing something right. But one of the things we are doing right is, I know something that's embraced by this community, is that we are fully embracing refugees coming in to Buffalo. And that's a wonderful thing. So we know we've always been a melting pot. Everyone here knows where their grandparents or great-grandparents came from. Everyone knows here their struggle to fit into America and into Buffalo. So, you know, used to be Eastern European, used to be Irish, used to be Italian, but now it's Burmese, it's Sudanese, and it's Bangladeshi. Boy, isn't it wonderful? It's great to be participating again in sort of being a world's melting pot after we hadn't been one for a very long time. And the hidden story of Buffalo's population, we always sort of had it wrong. We always thought everyone's leaving. That's why we're shrinking. But not many more people left here than leave any other city in America, but nobody was moving in. And that was our big problem. So the first time we have people moving in, they're moving from other parts of America, but certainly they are coming from the world. You know, we're poised now to welcome Afghanis. We welcomed Afghanis in the 90s after Russia pulled out of Afghanistan. We have a small community, but I believe we're going to be welcoming a lot more Afghanis into our community. And I know that this community will once again be at the forefront of welcoming all people to Buffalo, making sure that all people enjoy the full rights of citizenship and the full rights of being from Buffalo. So I'll wind down by saying that, you know, we've been sort of in a journey as who we are as Buffalonians. We've been wandering in our own desert of post-industrialization, but we're trying, and we are now taking steps to figuring out who we are, who we want to be. We've shaken off a lot of our old ways of thinking. We're embracing who we are. We're learning to love ourselves and to love the great attributes that we have. We're confident enough to take risks again. And most importantly, we're no longer afraid of the future. We want the future. We embrace the opportunities of the future. We look at it as an opportunity and nothing to fear. And we know the possibilities are endless if good-minded people continue to come together to help shape our new Buffalo. So it's been wonderful to address your congregation today. Thank you so much for having me, and please continue doing what this group has done for well over a century. Keep being who you are, because it certainly influences the Buffalo that we want to be. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was wonderful. Please rise as you are willing and able, and let's sing number 1020 in your order of service, Woyaya. You have an extra hymn this morning, so you can take that one home and we'll learn it for another time. Woyaya is up next. Thanks.
Okay. And there's a line that says, heaven knows where we are going, and there's a bit of a roadmap we have to follow to do this piece. There are 3 sets of repeat signs in the last 2 pages. And each time we come to a repeat sign passage, we're going to repeat that passage once. So it'll be 2 times, 2 times, and 2 times, and then the last measure. Here we go. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. It will be hard, we know, and the road will be muddy and rough, but we'll get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Woyaya, 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 woyaya. We are going, heaven knows where we are going, but we know within, and we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there, but we know we will. Woyaya, 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 woyaya. Woya ya 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 ya, woya ya 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 ya, woya ya 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 ya, woya ya 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 ya.
Let's take a deep breath, put our feet flat on the floor, soften our gaze or close our eyes, and prepare ourselves for a time of prayer, meditation, and contemplation. As we reflect on embracing possibilities, let's also remember that risk-taking is an inherent part of exploration, of embracing the possible. As we explore, we risk and often fail. Yes, in fact, failure is integral to success and learning to evolving on our journey. Here is a blessing for risk takers and failures by Robin Tanner. Today, we share in a blessing for losers, risk takers, all failures far and wide. Blessed are they who fall in the mud, who jump with gusto and rip the pants, who skin the elbows and bruise the ego, for they shall know the sweetness of risk. Blessed are they who make giant mistakes, whose intentions are good but impact has injured, who know the hot sense of regret and ask for mercy, for their hearts will know the gift of forgiveness. Blessed are they who have seen a D or an F or a C or any letter less than perfect, who are painfully familiar with the red pen and the labels as less than, for they know the wisdom of the imperfect. Blessed are they who try again, who dust off, who wash up, who extend the wish for peace, who return to sites of failure, who are dogged in their pursuit, for they will discover the secret to dreams. Blessed are they who refuse to listen to the naysayers, for their hearts will be houses for hope. Blessed are they who see beyond the surface of another, for they will be able to delight in the gift of compassion. Blessed are they who stop running the race to help a fellow traveler, who pick up the fallen, who stop for injured life, for they shall know the kindness of strangers. And blessed are they who wildly, boldly abandon winning, for they shall know the path of justice. Today, we hold in our hearts all the risk takers, courageous losers, and embracers of possibility who lead by example, teaching us to face our fears of risk and failure and to go forth bravely, knowing the rewards of risk make us wealthy and success makes us worthy. Today, we especially hold in our hearts all those who were in the path of destruction wrought by Hurricane Ida from the deep south through the northeast. We are learning now the human costs of climate change. We hold in our hearts families and individuals who are on long journeys from Afghanistan to final destinations across the globe. We await you. And we hold in our hearts our own Carol Congdon. She had her surgery on Wednesday. She is recovering well, and the surgery was successful. And now we open our worship space to the names of all our loved ones suffering in sorrow and celebrating in joy, each name a breath, each breath a prayer. The breath of nature is upon us. The spirit of life is within us. The community of love is among us. So be it, blessed be, and let the church say, Amen. Let's sing number 161, This Is My Song.
This is my song, O God of all the nations, a song of peace for lands afar and wide. This is my home, the country where my heart is. Here are my hopes, my dreams, my holy shrine. But other hearts in other lands are beating with hopes and dreams as true and high as mine. My country's skies are bluer than the ocean, and sunlight beams on clover leaf and pine. But other lands have sunlight too, and clover, and skies are everywhere as blue as mine. Oh, hear my song, thou God of all the nations, a song of peace for their land and for mine.
Benediction today is Go in Peace, Seeking Justice by Jim McGaw. When I say go in peace, I don't mean go in mindless oblivion. When I say go in peace, I don't mean go without challenging yourself or others. When I say go in peace, I don't mean go in utter ease and comfort. When I say go in peace, I mean go in peace, seeking justice. I mean go in peace, committed to equal rights and opportunities for all. When I say go in peace, I mean go in the peace that is created when together we build communities of true solidarity, deep compassion, and fierce, unrelenting love. Go in peace.
And let us remain standing as we extinguish our chalice for the day.
Oh, boy, I made it all the way through, you know. Please join me in the words we use to extinguish our chalice. As we extinguish the light of this chalice, may we carry its light with us into the world in the power of peace, faith, justice, and love. Yikes.
It's not where you start, it's where you finish. It's not how you go, it's how you land. 100 to 1 shot, they call him a klutz. Can outrun the favorite, all he needs is the guts. Your final return will not diminish, and you can be the cream of the crop. It's not where you start, it's where you finish, and you're gonna finish on top. If you start at the top, you're certain to drop. You've got to watch your timing. Better begin by climbing up, up, up the ladder. If you're going to last, you can't make it fast, man. Nobody starts a winner. Give me a slow beginner. Easy does it, my friend. Conserve your fine endurance. Easy does it, my friend, for that's your life insurance. While you are young, take it rung after rung after rung. It's not where you start, it's where you finish. It's not how you go, it's how you land. 100 to 1 shot, they call him a klutz. Can outrun the favorite, all he needs is the guts. Your final return will not diminish, and you can be the cream of the crop. It's not where you start, it's where